Stephen, can you take attendance, please?
Should call the meeting.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
I heard that.
Chairman Cleary.
Here.
O'Brien is excused. Mr. Burkhardt.
Here.
Ryan is excused. Mr. Tunney.
Here.
Rosano. Here. Peter.
Here for this memorable first occasion.
Reinhardt.
Here.
And Smith.
Here.
7 present, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Can you do the previous meetings?
I make a motion for that. Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Unanimous.
All right, item 2 has been withdrawn. Item 3 is authorizing a lease modification and renewal agreement with the Federal Aviation Administration and related easements regarding the radar tower at 897 Watervliet Shaker Road in the town of Colony.
I can speak to that.
Any questions?
This is the long-awaited extension of our FAA radar tower lease at 897 Watervliet Shaker Road. Exactly the same lease as previous, except for one change, which is instead of an exclusive access right to the road going to the site, they agreed to a shared access agreement to allow us to access our solar array that's proposed for the site. Otherwise, meets and bounds are exactly the same.
So what's the essence of this, Luke?
What's the
I'm
entrance? You know what, it's on Watervliet Shaker Road, so if you're coming from the nursing home,
Yep.
and it's on your right, there's sort of a almost dirt-ish looking road right before you get to the new BOCES.
Yep.
And that's the road that is how you get back to it.
Okay,
So it's not a public road.
okay. All righty.
Mr. Chairman, if there are no further questions, I make a motion on this.
Thank you. Second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passed unanimous. Thank you.
All right, item 4 is authorizing an agreement with Tracy Road Equipment, Inc. regarding the purchase of a Hyundai wheel loader.
I understand that the commissioner is stuck in traffic, so I think this is a pretty straightforward purchase request, so I would ask that it move forward.
Yeah, so this is a purchase of a wheel loader for $173,928.50. I know we buy most of our heavy equipment through Tracy Road. It's been better over the years.
Matt?
Was this through open bid or was this state contract?
Trying to read as fast as.
Sourcewell
I
contract.
guess state contract.
Sourcewell is when we piggyback on.
That's what I thought. Mr. Chairman, if there are no further questions, I make a motion to move them.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Passed unanimous.
Item 5 is rescinding Resolution 16 for 2023 and authorizing an agreement with Blue One Energy Equipment regarding the purchase and installation of fueling stations for the Department of Public Works, Queens, and Knox subdivisions.
Do my best to speak to this one. I think fairly straightforward, but yeah, go ahead.
All right, do not exceed amount of $379,546. This will be paid out of bonded proceeds that we bonded last year. This is off of a national cooperative contract, so I'm going to piggyback.
This is for the new substations that are being constructed in Knox communities.
All,
Who's gonna move it?
I would second that.
all in favor? All opposed? Passed unanimous.
Item 6 is authorizing a lease agreement with Highmark Blue Shield Northeast New York regarding corporate suite number 9 at the MVP Arena. Mr. Belver's here this evening.
This is just a simple renewal, similar to what we've had in the past. It's been a great tenant in the building, suite owner for many years, and this would be an additional 3-year lease, very similar to the other ones that we had presented to you in the past.
Any question?
No questions, I make a motion on this, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Passed.
Item 7 is authorizing a renewal agreement with New York State Office of General Services regarding the provision of cooling water at the MVP Arena.
So this is a contract for the water that we need for heating and cooling of the facility. The state has provided this water for the last 33 years since the building was built. Huge pipes that come down from OGS. The rate that they've given us has not changed since we started in 1990. This contract actually picks up from 2019. In 2019, we asked for a contract at that time from the state. 10-year contract will start in 2019 and end in 2029. The rate for the county and the MVP arena will stay consistent and the same as what it's been for the last 34 years.
Adam?
Got a question, sir.
Okay.
Sure. Bob, is the MVP arena the end of the line for the cool water from OGS? There isn't anything further south.
As I understand it from OGS, that we actually get it on the way up before it goes to OGS. And then it goes back, not through us, but it goes back to the river. But we get it before it goes to.
So we get it from the intake.
We get it.
So we are, it's not even chilled water or heated water, it's
It's whatever.
whatever the ambient
Whatever
river
temperature of the
temperature
river.
is.
Yeah, which makes it a little difficult, quite frankly, when it's in August, 100 degrees outside. Makes it a little tough to air condition the building.
So you take that water and chill it further, or that water and heat it further in the winter.
Yeah, exactly,
So it's essentially almost like geothermal.
correct.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
And I think the station is right before the USS Slater,
Yeah.
in that area, right before you get to the waterfront.
I just assumed it was somehow coming from.
No, I get it.
Broadview.
I thought maybe it was coming from Sheridan, but that makes sense.
I make a motion, Mr. Chairman.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passed.
Item 8 is authorizing an assignment of a lease agreement for Pearl Street Convenience at the MVP Arena to Pearl Street Convenience Incorporated, Kashif Habib Karashi.
So this is a request that came to us very recently from Latif Mimon, who is the current owner, has been the owner of Pearl Street Convenience for 20-plus years. A very good gentleman, current on all of his payments for rent. The gentleman that he's selling his convenience store business to is Kashif Habib, I may not get this correct, Qureshi, who has a very good track record with a number of businesses throughout the area, including Little Falls, Nelliston, Albany, on Second Avenue, Hot Springs, Arizona, Scottsdale, New York, Stillwater, New York. And we did some checking on his background and find no reason not to go forward. Having said that, we are asking for a security deposit in the amount of 3 months' worth of rent. For the reason we don't foresee paying, then we'll have that as security. And he would be picking up the current lease. So the balance of the current lease would be picked up by him as of July 1st. And then once it gets to the end of the lease, he'll have the ability, and will have the ability on a mutual option basis to continue.
Matt?
You said it's on Second Avenue, his business. Do you know what it's called?
I believe actually. It's NKN Trading Inc.
Do you know the ad?
299 Second Avenue.
Any other questions?
Hey, just an observation. I'm not sure I should even raise this out loud, but someone's tax return is included in the backup for this resolution?
We asked for financial information from them to show that they were in good standing.
Okay,
We didn't ask for tax returns. Those are just
so they volunteered this?
correct.
Okay, I
We
just
did not ask for it.
concerned that,
Yeah.
okay.
Can we make sure it's not digitally available?
I mean, it's now part of the public record.
Any other questions?
I make a motion, Mr. Chairman.
Motion? Second? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Passes.
Sorry, if I could, we've got a quick second. How many of the suites are left open right now that are unleased in the,
They're all leased.
or at least, good, okay, thanks.
There's a waiting list too, right?
There's 41 companies on the waiting list. I
Good.
wish we could build some more suites.
Good, thanks, thank you.
Item 9 is amending resolution number 197 for 2022 regarding corporate suite number 12 at the MVP Arena.
And this is a very similar renewal scenario for NYSCOVA, except that we moved them into Suite 12 when Bank of America did not renew. And we replaced NYSCOVA bringing in the same money that we would have brought in from NYSCOBA had they stayed in their suite. Except that we're also making sure we're protecting the county by getting the same money that Bank of America would have paid. So this is a win-win for everyone.
Any questions?
Council, is all the suites the same price, whether they're behind the stage or not?
Yes, it wasn't always that way.
Okay, so
At one time, it used to be a lower price for the ones behind the stage, but they had to buy their tickets. And that did not work back then.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes.
Thank you. Item 10 is authorizing a utility easement to Niagara Mohawk Power Corporation and Verizon New York, Inc. regarding the installation of infrastructure for a solar array at 897 Watervliet Shaker Road in the town of Colony.
Thank you. As you read, in order to install the solar array at 897 Watervliet Shaker Road, you obviously need to interconnect to the grid. When you do that, we provide part of the infrastructure to a point, and then it crosses over to utility-owned infrastructure, and they install that utility-owned infrastructure. We're talking about poles, basically. They install that, and so in order to do so, they need an easement to install the poles on our property. That's all it is.
Paul, I have a question, Mr. Chairman. Luke, what is Verizon's involvement in this? Because are they on the
I'm
poles?
guessing they're just on the poles.
They're on the
That's
poles.
the extent.
Does any of this relate to a potential siting of a cellular tower in that area?
Not at the moment, but we could certainly have a
But by
conversation.
virtue of Verizon having an easement to come in there, it would make it easier in the future. Should
Yeah,
that
we could
be?
reach out and see what the specifics of their infrastructure are there.
Because Central Colony is, as you know, woe in need of cellular network.
Yeah. Yeah, we can,
Are we comfortable that this would at least provide a foundation for Verizon to do something like that?
Well, I mean, at this point, it's just a utility easement authorizing access and placement of utilities. I mean,
It would have to be an
it might
agreement.
have,
obviously.
yes, it might have to be extended in the future were there some future agreement to add on a, you
Okay,
know.
but you wouldn't have to go back to the easement and modify it for
It's-
access.
It's possible, it depends on the nature of what they would ask for.
Okay.
So
Okay.
it really,
But
that
Paul, in the
makes
city,
sense.
every utility that wants to be on a pole has to get the easement so that they can use it, so it does make it, I think, easier for them to do as long, because it's that, like.
It's one piece of the puzzle that you may not have to.
And it's generally not a particularly onerous process either.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion.
I'd second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes.
All right, item 11 is authorizing an agreement with the Capital District Transportation Committee regarding a multimodal corridor study from the city of Albany to the city of Watervliet.
so this is allowing us to enter into the MOU with CDTC. We were awarded a $100,000 grant from CDTC in addition to $30,000 in-kind services that they will provide us. We're looking at it's a multi-jurisdictional study, basically looking at the corridor from Albany, Manans, Watervliet, the Broadway corridor, and we're looking at it from multiple angles, but including resilient infrastructure, sort of, resilience to extreme weather, heat concerns in the area, as well as opportunities to improve transit and multimodal transit in the area. So happy to have received the funds. Very interesting time to be doing this project because at the same time, there's obviously a lot of work going on related to 787 as well as the Troy Manans Bridge. So it's a good time to be looking at this, and this just allows us to get started.
Mr. Chairman?
Matt?
No, I'm glad to see this, because I think getting a study there then helps us get potentially more grants through CDTC, which obviously is the jurisdiction we can get some of those federal and state funds. So I think that's a great idea. I'd like to see more of these coming. I think the corridors and bus rapid transit, interconnecting to job sites, things like that, as well as expanding bike trails is going to be huge. So, I'm all in favor of this, and, this is going to get.
To your point, this will allow us to scope some projects along those lines and then use those scopes to go after other funding, whether it's CDTC, through the federal dollars that they get, Environmental Bond Act. You've probably seen the corridors now even just the infrastructure to, I forget the technical term, but basically allow the buses to go first at an intersection, makes a big difference for commute times and transit times without a huge disruption. So CDTA is a partner here, looking forward to working with them and the communities as well. It's a little interesting of a study because they aren't our roads, but it's because it's multi-community, it made sense for us to be sort of the umbrella to look at this.
Paul?
Obviously, Albany's involved, and Broadway would be Manans. Is there a piece of Colony that juts in there?
There's a very small piece.
In Maplewood,
But,
probably?
to the extent that Bonanza is obviously a village in
Yeah,
town,
right.
I think they'll be consulted with them as well.
Well, there's,
Yeah.
I think there's a sliver between
Yeah.
Manhattan
Yeah.
and that,
Yeah.
it goes right there, yeah,
It has to do with an old transfer, like,
Right.
utility easement. It's
Yeah,
a weird.
but I'm glad to hear you talking about things. When I hear about these multimodal corridor studies, I immediately think of complete streets, and I worry that, Broadway is a well-traveled thoroughfare, and when they contemplated complete streets on Waterloo Shaker Road, people said, no, what are you, crazy? You couldn't cut a lane out of there for bicycles and that sort of thing. So this is really more interconnects with other infrastructure, or could it be
I think it's.
sidewalks,
Yeah, I think it's looking at
pedestrians,
all
bike
of the above.
lanes?
It is all of the above. I won't, it's, to the point you were making, I think it's a balancing. It's all about finding the right balance. To the extent that there's the ability to add more multimodal, I think that will certainly be looked at.
But because it's multi-jurisdiction, what is the governing body that will make those decisions?
Well, that was, what I was gonna say was, much of this study is going to be driven by both the local jurisdictions' views as well as engagement with the community that lives, works, and travels there. So we'll want to base decisions on the feedback that we get. But we can't go in and tell them to do anything because, as I mentioned, that we are sort of the umbrella working with the communities to do what, we all come to an agreement makes the most sense.
And if it helps, just because I used to have to sit on that committee for the mayor back then, every municipality has jurisdiction over itself and has to apply for these grants. Technically a bunch of them are under the umbrella of Albany County if they agree, but not everyone, there's no, the county and CDTC can't force this.
Yeah, no,
But is Broadway a county road,
No.
a town road?
it's a mix. It's a mix of.
So by jurisdiction,
Yeah,
where it goes?
there's some state ownership and then there's some local ownership, so.
But I believe the cities would have jurisdiction because by state law and other things like that, the cities have jurisdiction. That's why the county and the state don't plow those roads
Right.
and stuff like that.
So,
But where would the Village of Nance fit into that? The city of Albany can't determine what happens.
No, of course, that's why it'd have to be by jurisdiction. which
Okay,
department-
well, you said cities.
Well,
I'm saying
have
that
a-
most of it would be so for example,
Watervliet would be.
Watervliet doesn't have to check with the
Watervliet,
state or the
Albany.
county, Albany doesn't have to check with the state or the county.
Okay,
Like,
just trying to figure out how you.
we'll have some sort of steering committee that will have representation from all of the impacted, or included municipalities as well as CDTA and probably the local planning commission, so, I think it will be really driven by community input and by local municipal.
I move this, Mr. Chairman.
Second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passed.
Item 12 is authorizing an agreement with the City of Albany and the College of St. Rose for the purchase and installation of a new turf sports field at Hoffman Park in the City of Albany. Mr. Sagan from the Executive's Office is here this evening.
Hi, legislators, Chairman, thank you for having us. This is a memorandum of understanding between the County of Albany, City of Albany, and College of St. Rose to share in the cost of a new turf field at the Preliminary Sports Complex within Hoffman Park. This has a number of benefits. Number one being, of course, it is an assistance to the College of St. Rose which is obviously an important part of Albany County, our economy, the community. The field itself is about 13 years old. The typical length of life for a field like that is 10 years. So it's well past due for replacement. And an added bonus of this is that we are going to be able to host our own Albany County recreational programs on the field, which, as some of you may know, we don't typically have our own recreational program in the city of Albany. So there is a number of advantages to this, and so we're looking to move forward with this being installed this summer.
Go ahead.
Question. Cameron, are you saying that before the county did not have access to the field?
That's correct.
For its fence?
Yeah, I believe the city of Albany would use it for their recreational programming, but this would be a new advantage for the county.
And would we have access, kind of like when the other entities didn't need it? When St. Rose didn't need it, or the city didn't need it?
That would be the idea going forward, right?
And we are saying, that access would allow us to use it for whatever sport we wanted, it's not delineated. We can only use it for this
We
event.
can use it on turf fields, correct?
Okay.
Paul? Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Cam, anywhere in this operating agreement, do we share costs of maintenance, or is this just a one-time capital
This is a
infusion?
one-time capital investment.
So if somebody wants to use it at night, will there be lights there?
I believe there are lights in it.
There are.
Yeah.
So there could potentially, night use could
Yeah,
uh,
There are lights.
create electric bills. But obviously, the college is gonna pick them up, or somebody other than,
that's correct.
Albany
This is a
County?
flat 250,000.
okay.
Yeah.
And who is the scheduling entity? Who's the supervising adult? Is it the college, since it's on their land?
It is, I think, what this will allow us to do is sort of negotiate what the access is gonna look like, and, you know, what are the days, times. They're committing, I believe the useful life of the field for the newer technology is 13 years, so over those 13 years, what are the college gets first, you know, dibs for their games and practices, but outside of that, it's collaborating with the city and the county rec on, we'll formalize what that looks like.
Usually these types of fields are striped, for different sports.
Yeah, I mean, my question would be the same as Lee. Who's gonna schedule the games and stuff? I play soccer. I know there's an Albany City, we're called over 40, but we're all over 55, 60, and they play there. Who would be the one that's in charge of scheduling games
So-
and using the facility? This is just a question, it's not,
Yeah, no, it's good, so, the college, I believe, schedules, we can confirm, but what I think is gonna happen is, it's not gonna be, the county has to call up a scheduler and see if the field is open. We'll determine some set times that we can offer programming there, and have it be more formalized there might still be opportunities for clubs, things like that, I've played soccer there too, where it's not in use and you get to use it, but I think we're contemplating a more structured offering of programs that will be set in some sort of agreement.
well, if you could find out who's gonna schedule it and just let the legislatures know.
Yeah.
I would just like to know that. It's not a problem or nothing. I think it's a great idea, but I would just like to know who you're supposed to contact
Sure.
with that. Matt, you had a question?
Well, no, I think if I'm getting this right, how people schedule on an open field anywhere is gonna stay the same. What you guys are gonna get is a standard times and spaces for county programming, and then everything else sort of stays the same. So what I mean by that is just that it's giving you an opportunity to put your programming there at a set time. When it comes to open fields and stuff like that, that's not changing how it works.
Correct.
That's just-
At the end of the day, the college is gonna develop their own schedules, and there's gonna be those open slots.
Right.
And when they have their schedule, our rec department will coordinate with them which slots are open, and that's how we'll go from there, develop our own schedule for our rec programming based
Right.
on
I think-
location.
In addition, I believe historically, the school has offered programming there for residents of this city in the summer, and as part of this agreement, obviously, it will still be open to the city residents, but we'll also be able to expand that to the rest of, giving the county's commitment to the rest of the county.
Actually, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Obviously, I know that people pay to use those fields, and I assume the county would not pay to use it.
That's the idea.
I mean, if I was a soccer team, we'd come in.
We're paying up front.
Yeah, we look at this as an investment.
But we're,
both,
yeah, so we're,
both in the school's long-term ability to have teams there, but also in the county's ability to.
no, I think it's great. So if you could get us a contact
Yeah.
for people who would like to use the field, obviously we would come last, anybody in the public. I think it's good. Any other questions?
I was just gonna say, it sounds like a timeshare we're buying.
That's exactly it. No maintenance.
Actually, I kind of answered my own question by reading some of this. It's the home field for the St. Rose women's and men's soccer and lacrosse teams, so I guess the field would be striped accordingly. It's not a football field, it's not a baseball field, it's.
Yeah, I would think they would have their,
Yeah,
they would
that
decide
type
what
of-
they're doing.
Sorry.
They would decide what they're using it for.
Yeah, but generally the types of sports that you can play on, a rectangular field would be what we're looking at there.
Yeah, a lot of our sports programs that we run through the county are skills and fields to begin with, so, I mean, you could have a lacrosse program, you could have a football program. You don't necessarily need the goalposts necessarily to have the sport.
Does the
program.
county have a lacrosse program now?
Not currently, we're in the process of redeveloping the program.
That was one of the sports I was thinking of, about making sure that we're not constrained by our options, how we could use the field for sports. Now, since St. Rose is already doing lacrosse, I don't see how that could be an issue. But
Sure.
a couple of years ago in Bethlehem, lacrosse exploded. It was a little sport, and then it became a really big sport, and we had to get new fields to handle all of the lacrosse activity. So one of my concerns was just to make sure if lacrosse or some other field sport, becomes a big thing, we can use this field for those purposes. We're not prohibited from,
Sure. Yeah, no, I think that is not an issue, and, we're fortunate to host a professional lacrosse team here in the county, so I think it's a growing sport with a lot of interest.
Matt,
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to move this.
second? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any further items?
Is that-
Is there no further items?
Motion to,
Motion to adjourn, Mr. Chairman.
second, all in favor?
Aye.
But it's, he's.
There you go.